What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, consider hitting that like button, consider hitting the subscribe button, and consider hitting that notification bell. Your guys' support really helps us keep making videos. We have a very popular request here today: CydrABC, CydrABC. The two decks mix really well together. I've actually seen a lot of people say they didn't know that they could go together. I thought that was a bit odd, but nonetheless, that is something that has happened. So we decided to give you guys our take on it, and we'll kind of cover everything. You just saw a couple replays. We showed you one where our opening hand wasn't very good at all, and then one where we had probably the best opening hand we could, and we ended up making the basically Avermax ABC and Cyber Dragon Infinity. We are not playing Dragoon, despite the fact that a lot of these hands you still could make the Dragoon too, but then you would need to discard both of your cards that you have left in your hand, and you have to play the additional garnets. And I wanted the deck to be a little more consistent, and I just didn't want every deck to be Dragoon.deck, despite the things that it does add to it. But we have two combos here that I think everyone should know how to do if you were playing Cyber ABC or just ABC in general for the second one. So this one is just standard core and unauthorized reactivation. Let you guys watch here for a little bit, and then now with with carrier, we're actually going to equip our orbital that way, and our plant is not going to search out Galaxy Soldier. We're going to use our orbital to search it out, and then we're going to use our plant to search out our A, since we already have B and C. So for this one, you end on Infinity, Mega Fleet, and your ABC Buster Dragon. As you guys can tell already, we're not at all playing a budget build. This is supposed to be as competitive as possible, and Lightning Storm is a very strong card right now. But if you cannot afford it, obviously you can play other cards. This is just one of our meta counters. Feel free to take it out and play any meta counter you want. One more combo to show you guys. This one's just straight up Union Hanger. And all you ABC players probably already know this one. Union Hanger equals ABC plus Infinity. Pretty much, or not pretty much, but very similar combo line to what we just did. But here A is just going to fetch B back to your hand. B grabs your C. And then we're going to equip our Photon Orbital. And now you got your pieces to discard. So this deck is lacking a bit on the Cyber Dragon cards, especially the monsters, which you guys will see here in a little bit. We're going to follow the same format as our last deck profile, breaking the deck up into starters, extenders, and everything like that. Now that you saw a couple replays, good hand, bad hand, and a couple combos that you should know, let's go ahead and look at the deck. If you skip to, I don't know, the last 2 minutes, 1 minute of the video, you will see the deck list up on the screen, but we're going to do it our way and be informative and talk about the cards and choices, the how, the why, the reasoning behind them before that. But if you don't care for that part and you just want to see the deck list, skip to the last minute and a half and it'll be up on the screen for you there. But you might be a little confused. That's why we suggest watching the video, hitting that like button, hitting the subscribe button for more deck profiles, and we are always taking requests, so feel free to comment down below and let us know what type of deck you would like to see. And as always, join the Facebook group, and once in a while we talk in there. We try to do it more and more, but let's get on into the deck list. So starting off, we're going to start with our starters. How many times can we say that real fast? We have, ideally you want to play like 10 to 13 starters if your deck is able to. There's certain decks obviously that cannot. This deck, however, is not one of those decks. You can, and if you do opt to run the Dragoon package, add in a Rev system, the 3 Dragoon cards, and pull out, I don't know, some of your defensive cards, which we'll cover a little bit later, and then your core and emergency actually act as 1 card combos to make your Dragoon if all else fails. But nonetheless, they are still starters for this build. Starters are cards that pair up with your extenders really well, that can make your combos just really pop off. They're the cards you want to see in your opening hand, and they're the cards you open up your play with. So core Emergency, they both do function in this role because your core can actually access easy union carrier plays because of a card like Cyber Dragon Naxter and searching it out and getting your pieces in the graveyard and all of those great things. So right there is 6 starters. We also have Terraforming and Union Hanger because, as we all know, those are 1 card infinity plus ABCs. So again, Dragoon is tempting because it does give the deck resilience to hand traps and a plan B if you start to get negated. It also gives you that fail off, but we already have to discard for our ABC and things like that. So we just, like I said, opted not to play it, but you absolutely can if you so wish to. We do have 10 starters in this deck, and then we're going to go ahead and get on into our extenders. Most decks you want 12 to 15, maybe a little bit more depending on your starter count, depending on your other cards. We're playing quite a few, and actually a lot of our starters double up as extenders in this case. Our emergency doubles up as an extender because you can get to your Naxter that way. And our extenders we're actually going to split up into 2 categories, superior and additional. Superior extenders being the extenders that pair up directly with your starters very nicely and can combo off. Your additional take a little bit more setup, and you might need a 3rd card to actually make the most use out of them. So we'll split them up that way. Talk about superior first. We have our 3 Galaxy Soldiers. We have our 3 emergency. We have our reactivations. Obviously, you're going to play 3 unauthorized reactivation any ABC build you're playing. 3 Union Hangers and the 1 Terraforming. These cards, all the emergencies, hangers, terraforming, they all double up as extenders too, because if you open them with your core, you can still do like your plays because you don't necessarily need to just run them one specific route and one path and be linear all the time. You can mix it up quite a bit, and I suggest testing the deck out a lot. I'm not saying it's better than ABC on its own. I'm not saying it's better than Cyber Dragon on its own. I just think if you are going to mix the 2 decks together, this is definitely one of the best ways to do so. And once we get to our defensive cards, feel free to change them up how you so wish. But anyway, these are our superior extenders. You always want to run, I'd say 2/3 of your extenders at least should be superior. You definitely want more because, like we said, they pair up with your starters much better, and you don't need 3 cards as often because everyone knows in Yu-Gi-Oh! 3-card combos suck, especially in formats with lots of hand traps. But we do nonetheless have some additional extenders. We are playing the 1 Naxter, and I'm going to put the 3 pieces here, A, B, and C, because while they don't necessarily do a whole lot on their own, if they're paired up with the right starter, with the right extenders, you can actually use them out of your hand pretty well, like pairing your hanger up with a piece, things like that. But we play a pretty minimal count on them, which you guys will see once we throw that list up on. But we put them in our additional category, again, because they're take a little bit more out of your hand to make full use out of them, whereas the superior extenders are a little more readily available to do something right off the get-go. We also are going to put our TTT here, our Triple Tactics Talent, because, well, you get hand trapped, you can draw 2 cards, so it's an extender, right? It's an additional extender because it requires you to get hand trapped, so it's not something where you can just pair it up with your starter. It's something that requires setup. It's something that is not going to be able to get used all the time, and you could almost argue and put it into the blowout category, which there's a couple cards where we could probably put them there, but we're not going to have any in our blowout category, if you will. And what blowouts typically are engine cards that you don't want to open that you can search. Think like Cybernetic Overflow and Cyber Dragons. Decks that run like Chaos Dragon Leveneer, that's can be a very good blowout. They require even more setup than additional extenders, but seeing them can turn the entire game around for you in your favor. We also have the 1 Repair Plant. Unlike Cyber Dragon, where this is a superior extender, for ABC it is a additional extender because it requires getting that Cyber Dragon in the graveyard, and we're not playing very many, so there's times where you're not going to be able to use it right away, and it does require a little bit more setup, whereas pure Cyber Dragons, you're going to see a Cyber Dragon in your opening hand almost all of the time. This deck, not as often. Our brick category, we only got the 2 bricks in the deck. I don't think the pieces are bricks because, like I said, a lot of hands, they're actually usable in your hand, so we definitely don't think that they deserve to go there. Like, you pair them up with your reactivation, with your hanger, with your terraforming, with your emergency, with your core, and you can at least get into like union carrier plays and pretty basic plays to at least get ABC out, so we do not consider them bricks. But photon orbital and union driver definitely can be bricky. If you want to check out some other ABC cyber builds, Yassine had a pretty good one, and our friends at Alex Yugioh, go check them out, and they have some combos and replays in their deck list. But actually, if you open like your core reactivation, I think it was, and driver, your core can search out your emergency, which can get to your Naxter. Naxter can discard the union driver, special summon it back. Now you're locked into machines, which is okay. Use its effect, equip itself, banish it, get your B, go into your carrier plays, and you can still make a decent little board that way if you happen to open your driver. As you saw in the first replay, luckily we were against Time Lords, so it didn't really come up. A little more competitive deck, we would have probably got stomped, but we opened 2 Soldier, Orbital, and 2 Tactics Talent, but we ended up winning that game. Again, mostly because the deck we were against, but once in a while you will play those free decks, so you should at least know how to play out of a bad hand if you have a favorable matchup to do so. This brings us to our final category, and just like extenders, this category is going to get split up into 2 subcategories, our defensive cards. Every deck ideally should be playing like 6 at least to, 9. That's probably the average, 6 to 9 defensive cards. There are certain decks, especially big combo decks, where they might be playing 3 or even less because their extenders are just that good that they don't care what your board is, they can play through it. So there are exceptions to all these rules, but the best way to think about it is learn the rules so you can learn how to break the rules, because every rule can be broken. So when I say 6 to 9, that does not mean you have to. And we're actually playing a bit more than 6 to 9 because we have so many 1 and 2 card combos. You can open up 2 and see absolutely no problems. Additionally, we don't really want to go up against a well-established board. We want to either stop it or see our big blowouts to out it, essentially, is the best way to put it. So these cards you can put, we're playing 16 of them, which is really, really high. You can put more consistency cards in if you prefer. You can switch them up with other defensive cards and play what you kind of expect to go against for your specific meta, your locals, whatever you're playing at. But we are playing Skullmeister, Ash Blossom, Droll, Knockbird as our 3 hand traps. I think they're the best 3 hand traps of the format. Nibiru actually becoming sneaky good again because Drytron, a lot of them are going away from the Vanity Ruler builds because of consistency and people just adapting and being able to out it. So they're changing it up, which actually makes Nibiru a little bit better because it's also halfway decent against Virtual World. So things to consider. Red Reboot is our final one. These, we forgot it last time too, but we forgot to mention our 2 subcategories. Reactive, which is the hand traps. These are cards where you're going second, or even if you went first and now your opponent's doing their plays, these are the cards you play to react to your opponent, your hand traps. And then we'll get to in a second are responsive, and those ones, I get it kind of sounds like the same thing, but we say responsive as in you're responding to the board that they already built. You're responding to the threat that's already there. So reactive is reacting to them as they happen. Responding is reacting to them after they happen. And we are playing 3 Triple Tactics Talent, 3 Lightning Storm. Talent, the deck can actually get hurt by a hand trap on some hands, so Talent is a good way to play through them by drawing 2 more cards. Additionally, if you still have everything you need, you can rip a card out of your opponent's hand and gain that hand knowledge, which is really, really important. Going second, you can steal one of their monsters and go into your plays that way. Lightning Storm is absolutely crazy right now, blowing up monster boards, blowing up back row, especially in this format where it seems like the format doesn't know where it wants to go with which decks are best, back row or the monsters. And the VFD turbo is kind of a big reason for that because decks are just playing around it by playing more back row. But if you cannot afford these cards, I completely understand. Like I said, all the defensive cards, switch them out with whatever you prefer, but to be the most competitive as possible, these are our recommendations. So that's kind of the breakdown on the how, the why, the where, the who, the when. Let's go ahead, throw that deck list up on the screen and show you guys. So there you can see the deck list. The main deck, 3 core, 1 Naxter, 3 soldier, kind of redundant, and I don't necessarily like it, but I don't dislike it, especially because we've been unlucky in testing and opened 2 a lot. So 3 does come up really nice that way. Additionally, if you open it, you can just search out like your repair plant to get a piece, or you can do something different, get to your Naxter for your follow-up play, and you can avoid it that way. But with repair plant and core searching repair plant and photon orbital being so easily accessed, I completely understand if you want to play 2 Galaxy Soldiers, and there isn't really anything wrong with that. We just opted to go with 3 because I don't mind opening it. 1A, 2B, 1C, pretty minimal. Both Cydra and ABC is pretty minimal, and I know some people are going to complain that's not ABC, that's not Cyber Dragon, hand trap deck, things like that, but this is just how a lot of decks work nowadays, so we all have to get over it. 1 orbital, 1 driver, then we have our 9 hand traps, 3 emergency, 1 repair, 3 hanger, 1 terra, 3 activation, our 6 responsive cards, and then our 1 red reboot, because I do actually really like it. And at least in other decks playing on ranked dueling book, I've actually had really good luck opening it, like 5 out of 7 games. It's crazy. Too bad it was 3 of those were against decks that didn't run traps, but nonetheless we opened it game 1. Extra deck real quick, Mega Fleet and Fortress, because we do have the Cyber Dragon package, so they're nice to have. 2 ABC. You could play 3, I suppose. I haven't really had the 3 come up. Either I am way too far behind and probably lost by that point, or you're way too far ahead and you already won by that point. I found 2 to be plenty because you just completely spam out the board with your big link monsters on your follow-up play. The 1 Macabre, so you can send your Nova, or if your Nova gets hit by something, you can get the Macabre. 1 Infinity. 1 Almirage. Has not really come up at all hardly because we want to get into our Union Carrier, which means we can't go into the Almirage. And without playing the Dragoon package, I'm definitely considering taking out Almirage. If you want 3 ABC, take out Almirage. Pretty easy. That'd be the first one I would take out to put in an ABC. 1 Union Carrier, card's crazy. 1 IP Masquerena, card's pretty good. Cerberus, card's not that good. Phoenix, card's kind of good. Unicorn, card's really good. And then Avermax and Access Code Talker cards are both insane, and they're super easy to make as your follow-up, or even depending on the right hand, you can make them on your initial turn. And pretty much any of those ones, depending on your matchup, where we went into Infinity and ABC, instead of going into your Nova, just use your 2 Galaxy Soldiers to go into your IP Masquerena, and then on your opponent's turn, Masquerena and Carrier into your Avermax, and you get the big boss monster. So keep that in mind. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much the deck list, though. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Like, share, subscribe, tell everybody how much you loved it, hated it. I don't really care, but thank you guys for watching. See you next time.